学生们，你们好. Hello and welcome to another English class, business English class. We have category B, B3 today, another lesson under unrealistic requirements, feasibility trade-off. So the core skill we will learn by the end of today's class is how to prioritize using the feasibility triangle. Again, this is part of the 16 lesson series with 4 categories and 4 lessons per category. So here we have a feasibility triangle. Let's take a look. We have speed, we have effort, we have quality. The idea is that if you maximize one of these, another must be sacrificed. So for instance, if you have a deadline and you need to push the milestone 5 weeks in advance, let's say even 5 days in advance, then it's inevitable that maybe the quality will suffer, or maybe the effort and resources will suffer. In this case, it means you would maybe have to pay more. So this is a reference, this feasibility triangle, that I will be referring to many times throughout today's lesson. So I just wanted to show you guys that first before we begin. Let's get started. So let's start with a step-by-step map. It really helps me to show my students a map of thinking. Yes, you can think in order too. You can think in an orderly manner, right? Instead of going like do, you can think like this. And it can be very helpful. So take a look at this. We have, let me make it one line under so it's all together. Okay, perfect. Goal, constraint, trade-off, decision. I will probably ask my student to define each of these, which would be like, goal, what does that mean to you? Give me a substitute. You know, if they're defining it with the word goal inside of it, I would say, can you tell me another word? Can you explain in a way that you don't use the original word? Constraint is what? Constraint is a restriction. Trade-off is what? Trade-off is exchanging one for the other. Decision is what? Decision is a choice you make. So actually, I remember hearing that decision is a choice that involves courage. Because if it doesn't involve courage, it's just a choice. I'm like, that's interesting. I love collecting little things I hear sometimes. So this formula here should feel new, even though we are still exercising the same muscle as we've been doing previously. So let's begin with a little bit of a phonics warm-up. So my student Yuan has been taking classes with me for about 2 months, and we've been doing a lot of phonics, a lot of reading comprehension, as well as business English, which we are doing now. And the phonics warm-up are usually words that are a bit contrasting in nature. By the way, phonics warm-up is different than the phonics class, which I had today with him actually, because today is a Tuesday. The phonics class would be involving one phonic. A phonics warm-up would be a couple minutes to warm up our mouth. So I was type these words here. Okay, here, give it a try. Say both words slowly, please. Excellent. Good. Great. Let me say this for you and then you repeat. Speed, speak. Quality, quiet. Effort, export. Excellent. And what I'm focusing on as I listen to you as a teacher is if you have clear final consonants like quiet, export, things like that. Okay, great. So let me introduce you the concept for today, which is the feasibility triangle. So let's go back here, and this is the triangle we see here. This line is simply because I copy and pasted it from the document with my student. So let's look at a concept. In real projects, we cannot maximize all three. What does it mean to maximize? I will give my student a second to answer. Good. So when something is faster, more effort or lower quality will be a result. If something is a higher quality, more time and more effort. And if something is less effort, then it would be lesser quality. So you see how the idea is you cannot maximize one without affecting the others. So I'm going to copy and paste a couple of sentences from the lesson preparation for my student, and we'll say them together. So repeat after me. We may need to trade speed for quality. Optimizing for all three may not be feasible. Given current constraints, we should prioritize. Improving this would require sacrificing that. Excellent. One more time. And this time on your own by yourself. Go ahead. Excellent. So the next part, and if you are still speaking, practicing, it's okay. Pause the video, finish, and then continue. This is mocking. This is a mock of a real life lesson, but you can just pause since it's not actually a live lesson. If you want to do live lessons with me, you can just sign up with me. Email down below or WeChat down below. But for now, as you practice on your own, you can just pause when you need, go back when you need. As long as you finish, as long as you do an okay job, then I would say, yeah, good job. You know, less pressure these days, but still get things done, right? Easy does it. Okay, so here is the next section. What I want you to do in the next section is to be able to identify the trade-offs before producing the language. So I'm going to describe a situation, and you as my student will identify what must be sacrificed. So for example, client wants delivery next week with no extra staff. What do you think? Client wants delivery next week with no extra staff. What will be sacrificed? You have three options. You have speed, quality, or effort. If you chose quality, you are correct. The quality will definitely be sacrificed. Okay, next. Team wants perfect testing, but deadline unchanged. Team wants perfect testing, but deadline unchanged. What will be sacrificed? If you said speed, you are correct. Next. Budget reduced, but requirements unchanged. Budget is reduced, but requirements unchanged. What will be sacrificed? If you said time, so speed, or quality, you would be correct. So then I'm going to ask my student to use this sentence structure, 用这个套句子的方法 to answer the questions again. So for instance, given the current constraint, We may need to trade time for speed. We may need to trade quality for effort, etc. like that. So you can pause the video and try this on your own, or we can continue. So the next section is controlled speaking practice. What does that mean? So the goal here is structured professional explanation. Structured professional explanation. So let's look at the speaking frame we are trying to get to. A constraint, so there is a limitation, right? And then you have to make a decision. So let's read the example model together. Given the current timeline, optimizing for both speed and quality may not be feasible. We may need to prioritize delivery speed and accept limited testing depth. Great. So let's have you, my student, complete structured prompts. So using this model, I want you to do one of these. So pause the video if you need to. I want you to choose one of these three and create a sentence following the structure of the example. Given this and this, we may not be able to, do this. It may not be feasible. So we may need to prioritize this and that. Go ahead, try it, please. And by the way, if you're my student, right, in the real class and you freeze, what I will do is I will give you options to choose from. So I will give you between speed and quality, what is sacrificed, what is changed for what, something like that. So I will give you 20 more seconds and then we will go to the next section. Okay, welcome back. We are now at the section called real life scenario, which is another way to say realistic workplace simulation. So this is the main skill transfer moment where we see if the skill of being able to explain a trade-off has stuck with you so far. So here is a scenario. So I will give you a scenario and you must explain the decision without sounding negative. So I'll put the directions on the board. Directions. Explain a decision without sounding negative. Explain a situation without sounding negative. So here is scenario A. A feature must launch this month, but testing is incomplete. And I usually have a target output in my head of what I think you can say. So I'll first let you go. So the answer I'm looking for, something along the lines of, there may be a trade-off between speed and quality. I think we're getting it, right? Let's try another one. Scenario 2. Team is small, but requirements increased. So the target output idea would be optimizing for scope, speed, and quality may not be feasible. Excellent. So you can either say there may be a trade-off, or optimizing for, let's continue. Let's do scenario C, which is a little bit more difficult. So manager asks you, can we do everything? Can we do everything? He or she is really testing the boundaries of this triangle. Can we realistically do everything? What would you say? The answer I'm looking for as you speak, my student, is keywords like constraint, feasibility, priority. I'm going to listen to if you have a neutral tone, if you can show in your language the clear trade-off that you're making. If you list the details first, right? We talked about all the details. I will push you to tell me the concept first. And if you say can't, I will push you to use our upgraded vocabulary, may not be feasible. May not be feasible. Excellent. Let's go to the next section, which is an overall concept consolidation. And I will give you a couple of questions. And the idea for this is to have this structured decision making under constraints. Let's try number 1. What is the core decision logic today? So, yes, my student can use real life scenario. My student can make up something as long as it makes sense to the structure of our lesson. Let's do another one. 2. When do professionals talk about trade-offs? If you talk about, when there's a lack of something like one of the triangle feasibilities elements, that would be excellent. And then I will, depending on how he's doing, depending on how much time we have left, I will say, okay, now think of a real life example. Right now, what's happening at work, using this formula, given this, I'll put this on the board. Given this, optimizing for this and this may not be feasible. And I will listen. Again, I will listen to him or her speak, and I will listen to, abstract words like the keywords I mentioned. Here, I'll put it here. As a teacher, I'm listening to these. Okay, excellent. Great. So something you can do for homework, right? For my students, for you, is to be able to use these simple explanations. So for these 3 words, it would be so helpful if you can memorize the meaning. What does a trade-off mean? What's feasibility? What is the idea is that professional explain constraints and not emotions. And throughout today's class, as my student Yuan You asks something or maybe is fumbling with something, I would just always return to decision-making language. I would always lead him back to this triangle, to the triangle logic. Great. So that is a wrap up for today's lesson of feasibility trade-off. I hope this was helpful to you. Please subscribe if you haven't, if you find this helpful. Okay, that's all for now. Bye.